Yeah, hi, I'm Sury here from the Singapore office right now. I joined Levi's on the 1st of December 1996 and then as a pretty small affiliate. My first day at office was an interesting one when I had a conversation with the then GM, Sanjay Chaudhary, and I had just come in from Pepsi and we were talking about the inventory that we hold in Levi's. So coming from Pepsi, I was used to 2 days of inventory, and then when Sanjay told me that we operate between 90 to 120 days of inventory, I literally fell off the chair. I distinctly remember that. The other thing which I very clearly remember is that on the first day we had a senior management team meeting, and in the SMT meeting people were rattling off product numbers, and I figured out that I could just not comprehend anything. So I was just wondering why we were making the process of naming genes so complex, and now the PC9, which is almost universal, was something that was completely beyond me, and I thought that I had possible number skills, and this just went over my head. So I remember this, and it seemed to pose a definite threat to what I otherwise considered was reasonable number skills. So that is an interesting introduction into Levi's on day one. The other thing which I think I distinctly remember in Levi's, there are many to recount, and I think the most interesting thing was the fact that we had a really committed and energetic team. And I think that I can recount some of the very, very interesting moments, like the low rise campaign, and that was such an interesting campaign, because it changed the way in which women started looking at jeans. And not only that, it brought in so much of publicity through some people tearing off billboards in Bombay, some women actually doing protest marches. It definitely woke up a lot of sleeping men and political parties, and it was no going back. There was no going back on this, and that was possibly one of the major steps that we had in terms of stepping up the pace of the women's jeans business. That was really exciting. The other campaigns that I can recount that were really very interesting was the campaign around cargos, the easy to get in, difficult to get out. That was another very interesting campaign that we had. The first TV commercial that was done in India, that was again a very, very exciting campaign. The 5 and 7 boot cut, that is another very very interesting one. So there's so many of these campaigns, and what is really interesting was the overall program, interacting with consumers, the retailers, and there was always something to look forward to. The energy levels were so high, and what I remember distinctly is the fact that everybody worked with a missionary zeal, and there was no politics because everybody was so busy. That was real fun. We had our lighter moments, and what comes to my mind is that we had a fantastic celebration in the 150 years of Levi's in true Levi's style, and thanks to people like Sury they organized that. I can distinctly recall the late night event of Usha Uthup, and I think around 2 o'clock in the night, the employees were absolutely alive and bubbling. So that was a fantastic experience. There are so many of these events that I can call like the launch of Sykes for its sheer energy, and that is again a major event, and I think it did change the face of Levi's in terms of the way in which the brand was perceived. Other things, on a more serious note, in 1998, there was this India Business Review. Remember the Simon Commission that came to India? It was almost like that. And then, one had to, bounce back from what was a potential, closure case of the business, and then to actually now, over several years, India has emerged to be one of the strongest emerging markets. And that's a tremendous achievement for all the people, And I think that the culture of Levi's, the participation in so many community programs like, Parikrama, Unnati, so on and so forth. And what gives me tremendous amount of, fulfillment is the fact that so many people from outside have come and spoken to me and thanked profusely some of the employees like, Randolph, Randy, as you all know, Prasanna, Vasanta, who are actually engaged with some of these institutions. And you definitely remember some of these moments, and because that's really what the true Levi's soul is all about. That was really great. The other thing I can remember on the other side is, when we were going through tough times, we had real cost cutting, to the bare bones. And I do remember having stayed in some weird guest houses, which nobody knows, but we just decided to go and stay there. But just because we had to cut down costs and everything mattered at that particular point of time. So overall, it's been a very, very fascinating journey, working with Levi's. And even right now, the challenges continue. The spirit continues, although there are different dimensions and different situations. But what is unique is the way of working and the unique culture that Levi's brings in. Going forward, for Levi's, the next 15 years, for a fashion business, it's a long time. But I would say that the mantra for Levi's may have to be really profit growth. And that's got, having grown the revenues quite substantially, having built scale and a pretty good talent behind it, it's time for us to actually grow the profits substantially. In the case of Denizen, I think that's something that can really, be a major opportunity in India. Can we really look at, all the status-seeking men and women, who actually aspire for a better tomorrow, to use this Denizen as a status symbol, and actually the symbol behind which many of them rally together. That's the way in which I would look at envisioning this future for India. And all the best. Have a great 15-year celebration. Really missing that, but I think all our thoughts are there with you.